Hello, I am Sorcerer, and this is my Ball Lightning Sorcerer guy. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is not the strongest S-tier new meta Sorcerer build, but nonetheless, it's a pretty nice build. It works well for speed farming, and it can push decently high into Nightmare Dungeon, tiers 60, 70, 80, without too much problem. But it's not the best at it. What this build is best at is, well, producing balls. With this build, you can make a lot of balls, and they go around you in a circle, and personally, for me, this is enough. This makes me weirdly happy. And also, it makes way too many damage numbers. Like, in fact, there is so many damage numbers that when the enemies don't die instantly like they do in this dungeon, you just have to go in settings and disable them, because they cover up the entire screen. So, let's go over it all. Starting with our skills, we have, of course, Ball Lightning, which is our main damage dealing skill, with a secondary function of producing crackling energy. We have Unstable Currents, which is a very big damage buff with long cooldown, but we have many tools to make it shorter. And then the usual defensive skills, which also double up as source of crowd control, so they make us deal way more damage. For enchantments, we have Firebolt for burning, as in like half the builds, and Ball Lightning for more Ball Lightning, which is, well, the entire point of the build. So there you have it. And for gear, there is mostly very usual and common for Sorcerer stuff. One unique aspect we have is Gravitational, which is the centerpiece of the entire build, and you can't really make this build without this aspect, so you have to find one random drop before you can start. And then we have more or less, well, we have Elementalist, because Ball Lightning is a mastery skill, and Elementalist is very good when it can work. And then we have all the normal Prodigy for mana, Conceited, Control, and Retribution for damage, Raiment, as usual, for pulls and stuns, Double Frost Nova, Disobedience for defense, and the Flame Shield for immobilize the Bind Embers aspect. Now, moving on to the skill tree itself, there is this Arc Lash, which is just something you use in the early game, and then there's no reason to really move these points around. You can't get anything useful, so you just save yourself some gold and leave it. Then the defensive skills, of course, all the passives, including Lucky Hit, which is quite important for this build, and, well, really nothing special. Ball Lightning, Crackling Energy upgrade, mana from Crackling Energy, and cooldown reduction from Crackling Energy. In the Paragon board, there is one little quirk. So, first of all, let's look at the final setup. There is nothing really, again, outstanding here. We have Adept Glyph, which is very good for master skills, and then all the standard Tactician in Frigid Fate board, Flame Feeder, Territorial, Exploit, and Control. And the one thing that's unusual on this board compared to other Sorcerer builds is that we go very heavily, as heavily as possible into attack speed. We have the nodes here in Elemental Summoner board, and we have even some small nodes on Burning Instinct board, and we pick them all up, because attack speed is very important for this build. It basically effectively gives us a lot of lucky hit chance, having higher attack speed. And yeah, so if we go back to progression, then this build also has minimum Paragon requirements. You need to be able to get your Adept Glyph for size of Ball Lightning and Static Surge node to get mana. Like, without this, you just cannot cast Ball Lightning. The mana cost is incredibly high, and you run out of mana in seconds. So you need, this is like 41 points, so you need to be level 60 to get here, or level 54 if you do Renown that early. So it's not that much, but before that, just don't try it. Play Arc Lash or something, then you barely have to change the skill tree. And then another quirk which comes from this start is that after we fill up this board, go to the next board to get mana and attack speed, and then we could continue from this, but it would be quite unoptimal because our first attached board is Static Surge, and like these rare nodes, gonna pick them up later are going to be easy to activate, and we actually really want to activate this node, but then you're not going to have 300 dexterity and willpower until you're way higher level. So to make this all work much better and transition smoothly into your final board, you need to do this respec at around level 72, I think. So you still keep your second board, Elemental Summoner, with all the important stuff, mana and attack speed and the glyph, but you also have enough points to keep your Static Surge, which actually lets you play the game. And another important detail is that when you do this respec, you first attach Frigid Fate board and then Static Surge, even though you go into Frigid Fate later, but you need to attach it first to make the requirements on this node reachable. Otherwise, you're just never going to get over 400 willpower, even at level 100. And then you will lose a lot of vulnerable damage. And then it goes as usual. You add up boards, you fill them up, you fatten up your glyphs when they level up, and you arrive here. So the gameplay, you've just seen. You simply go in and you cast your Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning kills everything. There's not really much to it. You have to keep an eye on your mana, because your mana goes up and down really fast. So if it goes down below half, you lose Elementalist bonus. And, well, then you need to press a spell to proc Prodigy or walk over some Kraken energy. And that's usually not hard to do. So now a special note needs to be said about how to play this build early on. So here, when I was playing, I had a lot of late game gear. I have a lot of like mana cost reduction, resource generation, lucky hit chance to regain mana. And of course, you can't have this all when you start out. So when you start out, you play a slightly different version of the build. Instead of using this Wizard's Ball Lightning, we go to the other upgrade, and we don't need Crackling Energy at all. So I'm going to remove my entire offhand, my Prodigy Ring, so like my mana generation goes way down. However, as long as there's like a couple enemies around you, and you can stun them, your mana will go up relatively fast. And then when there's just one elite left, you can kill it off with whatever Ball Lightnings are already rotating around you. And then, yeah, you just have to not overcast. Don't cast when there's no enemies next to you. And if you see on the stacks of mine, like, they go up pretty much instantly. So you always stun, with like almost every cast, and every stun gives you 10 mana per enemy hit. So your mana will be quite good, as long as you have enemies to fight. Now, of course, when you have a boss, this is not gonna work, because you cannot stun a boss. And unfortunately, there's just no good way to solve this boss problem. You just can't kill the boss with this setup. So what you do to kill the boss is you do this. It is kind of sad, but that's what you have to do when you start out and you don't have all the stats on the gear to make you cast Ball Lightning on single target. You just switch to Arc Lash, you have your ultimate, you pop it for the boss, and then it's gonna create some Ball Lightning, they're gonna still rotate, and they're gonna do like okay-ish damage. And usually this one ultimate is gonna kill the boss. If not, if you're like, say, in a bit higher tier dungeon, like, well, higher for your early level, I don't know, let's say you're level 70 and you're doing tier 35 or something, then you just have to first stagger the boss and then pop your ultimate and kill it. So it's not going to be super long either way. So, and this is what described here in the progression setups. You start off with no Crackling Energy, stun only build, and you use Arc Lash to kill the boss. If you don't like switching your skills, you can just replace Flame Shield with Arc Lash permanently, but then, well, you play without Flame Shield, so you're a bit squishier. Then you switch to Crackling Energy, but if your items are still like not fully like optimal, you're missing some rolls for mana or resource generation or anything else, then your mana will suffer a bit, so you still need help with Static Surge, In that case, we use Arc Lash enchantment instead of Ball Lightning to just have every skill stun all nearby enemies, give you basically full mana instantly. And then eventually you will find Raiment, and then your teleport will get natural stun, so you don't need the Arc Lash enchantment anymore. You can go back to Ball Lightning for extra damage, or some other options used in the variants. So the important part of this build is actually mana cost. So the Ball Lightning is the most mana hungry skill in the game. It costs 50 mana, and you can cast them very fast. Like with 1 attack per second with a staff with no attack speed bonuses, you can cast it almost twice per second. And then this upgrade makes you stack more attack speed than usual. And you also use a one-handed weapon, which has 1.2 attacks per second. So it's possible to spend like 200 mana per second with this skill. And well, we need to get it back somehow, because we don't only need to get the mana, but we also need to stay above 100 to get the Elementalist crit chance bonus. So how do we do this? And we do this with Static Surge, which is a legendary novel Static Surge board, which gives you 10 mana every time you stun a close enemy. And one upgrade of Ball Lightning makes it stun enemies after you hit them 50 times with your previous Ball Lightning. 50 times sounds like a lot, but Ball Lightning hits every enemy in AoE and it ticks very fast. So in reality, it's going to be like every other or every third cast of your Ball Lightning will be stun, and then every stun on every enemy gives you 10 mana times your resource generation. And basically with this upgrade, you have always full mana as long as you have enemies to fight. If you don't cast Ball Lightning into nothing, you will be completely fine. And that's how mana works in the early game. But the problem here, of course, is that it doesn't work on the boss because you cannot stump the boss. So in order to actually be able to kill the boss, which is something we want to do because Ball Lightning has pretty high single target damage and we want to make use of it, you need to do something else and not just Static Surge and Mage's Ball Lightning. So the solution to it is, of course, just getting good gear. There's a lot of stats you can get, and one important stat is Lucky Hit chance to regain resource. Because Ball Lightning, it doesn't look like it. It says Lucky Hit chance 5%, but actually Lucky Hit chance on Ball Lightning is very high. Because 5% times however many times it hits is a lot. Ball Lightning can hit up to 50 times if you manage to land all the ticks on target. And it hits an AoE, it hits every enemy again, so it will give you a lot of mana back. But as I said, consuming 200 mana per second means you need to regain 200 mana per second, so you need a lot of these stats to make it all work. And on top of that, we still have Prodigy, and we also have Invigorating Conduit, which gives you 12 mana, again times your resource generation, every time you pick up Crackling Energy. And with Wizard's Ball Lightning, you create at least one Crackling Energy every time you cast a Ball Lightning. So on top of that, you have Ball Lightning Enchant to create more Crackling Energy, and you have a 1 rank in Static Discharge passive. So basically, with this build, there's going to be a lot of Crackling Energy. So every time you take a step somewhere, you're going to pick like 3 or 4 of them, and you're going to get a bunch of mana. That's like your backup solution when your Lucky Hit doesn't proc enough to keep it full. So when you see it drops down, you use some skills to proc Prodigy, or you just walk over Crackling Energy. That's how it works in the late game. You stack all this mana reduction, cooldown reduction, whatever stuff, and you still need all the Crackling Energy, and you still keep Static Surge, which you proc with Raiment of the Infinite in the late game, because, well, it's just very nice to have a one-button teleport, get full mana instantly. Sometimes it helps you when you don't pay attention and cast Ball Lightning without hitting anything and spend all your mana within 2 seconds. And of course, to actually make all this inconsistent jump and down jump in mana generation work out with Elementalist aspect, you need to stack a lot of maximum mana. We get a lot of mana from Paragon, so you don't need to get too hard on it on your gear, but having it on helmet is mandatory, and one ring doesn't hurt as well. So build scaling, pretty normal stuff, with cooldown reduction being the most important stat, because you need cooldown reduction to use your skills, and without your skills you're nothing. For mana, I cover this in detail. You need a lot of mana, even more because you have Elementalist. And well, mana is going to be the name of the game for most of your gear hunting. And one interesting stat that stands out from the rest is attack speed. Attack speed makes you ball lightning tick faster. So this enhanced ball lightning says increased by 200% of your attack speed. I am not sure what they exactly mean by that wording, but in reality, it goes from 3.33 ticks per second at like no attack speed to 10 ticks per second at about 40% attack speed. So it increases a lot. And what this upgrade doesn't mention, what actually makes me very angry, is that it doesn't just increase the tick rate. It increases the tick rate, but also decreases the damage per tick by the same amount. So your total damage doesn't grow from attack speed, unfortunately. But what does grow is your lucky hit chance, because there's 5% chance to proc lucky hit on every tick. And then if you get 3 times as many ticks, well, that's 3 times as many lucky hits. Lucky hits means mana. Lucky hit means ball lightning and enchantment. So lucky hit is good. And of course, attack speed is still attack speed. You can attack faster, you have more ball lightnings, you have more damage. So we like this stat very much. And that's why our Paragon board is like that. Now down to the variants. Well, there is Speedfarming Variant, of course. Ball lightning is pretty good at speed farming just because you can cast some ball lightning, kill a group of mobs, and you still have them flying out for the next 3 seconds, so you just teleport forward, and the next group of mobs just dies automatically. You don't have to cast anything. So it has this advantage. The changes to make it speed farm are minimal. We pick up Ghostwalker boots to go faster instead of like extra damage from biting embers, and we transfer points from precision magic into teleport to teleport more often, and we replace ball lightning enchant with teleport for the same reason. You just teleport all over the place. Teleport cooldown is going to be short because of overflow energy, and then every time you teleport, you pull and stun enemies. You deal like you don't even need Frost Nova. Like we stun is enough to just pretty much instantly kill all the normal enemies with revolution and control aspects, and then you just use Frost Nova for elites or something like that. Now, for Nightmare Dungeons, there's 2 approaches I recommend. So the first one is you keep the same build, and it works pretty well up until tier 70 or so, and then on tier 70, even with pretty good optimized gear, you start getting one-shot all the time. So in this variant, we embrace the fact that we are one-shot. We just relinquish all our defensive. We remove Mana Shield, we remove Electrocution, we put ranks into Flame Shield, we put ranks into Flame Shield on the boots, we get some extra damage from Shatter, Hoarfrost, and then we just play Glass Cannon. So the cool thing you can do with this high-level Flame Shield is you can use 2 Flame Shield per 1 damage rotation by using Elemental Attunement passive. You can just walk up to enemies with just Flame Shield on your ball lightnings. They will crit. You have 100% crit chance with Elementalist. They will proc Lucky Hit, and they will reset your Flame Shield because it's your only defensive skill on cooldown. And after that, you can go ham with all your other skills, with Teleport, Frost Nova, and more ball lightning, deal all your damage with all the crowd control overlap, then recast Flame Shield when the first one expires, so it's always on, you're always like constantly invulnerable 6 seconds, and then, well, 6 seconds later, everything should be dead. And if it's not, well, then it's becoming unstoppable soon, so you need to run and then wait out your cooldowns. This is a playstyle, and well, it's going to be kind of slow because you have good damage and you can kill stuff easily, but you're one-shot by everything, so you cannot afford to miss any single monster in dungeon. You just need to kill them one by one, unleashing your full combo and then waiting 10 seconds for cooldowns between them. So yeah, it's not very pleasant, but it can push pretty high like that if you're careful. So I don't recommend changing any enchantments, but you can drop the ball lightning enchant. You're gonna lose some damage, but there's other stuff to pick in slot. One is Flame Shield, obviously, to just leave you more rooms for mistakes. The other is Teleport. Teleport makes this a lot nicer because you can like on the first step, when you just cast Flame Shield and go to enemies, you cannot teleport in, because if you teleport in, your teleport is going to be on cooldown, and then your elemental attunement can reset teleport instead of Flame Shield, and then your entire strategy falls apart, kind of. So, but you can use the enchant teleport to like evade in with teleport, and then, well, it makes it much nicer. But having Ball Lightning enchant still deals a lot of damage. It gives you mana back, and it's good to have it. So that's what I recommend. And the second way is we go against the nature of the Sorcerer, and we try to make the build tankier. That also works somewhat, but it has like a hard cap. Like it will work probably until tier 80, maybe 90 with very good gear, but then you just still get one shot too often to make it viable. And we get tankier by using a chest piece with a lot of damage reduction and armor instead of raiment. And another thing we do is we go back to what we used at low Paragon with no one-shot. We go back to Mage's Ball Lightning. And, well, we do this for two reasons. First is because we lost raiment, so we needed some source of stuns to actually deal extra damage. And the second is because this is just very good defensively. It will, like, you have always a ring of Ball Lightning on you, and some of them are stunning enemies. And basically this removes all melee damage from the equation completely. Any monster that comes to melee to you becomes automatically stunned. So you just have to worry about range damage or monsters that survive past the like CC limit and become unstoppable. And well, for range damage, we just get some more damage reduction from distant enemies. It rolls very high. You can get like 60% of it. And then you just have to try to kill everything before they become unstoppable. And if they do, you need to run and evade and dodge, because, well, even with extra toughness, you can't just stand and face tank elites and stuff. And then, the same as starter build, this build can't kill the boss. So you have to, when you reach the boss room, if there's a boss in Nightmare Dungeon, you have to respec back into Wizard's Ball Lightning and into Invigorating Conduit passive instead of your Horrorfrost. But, well, this will make your life in the dungeon itself less miserable and less one-shot prone. And the last variant we have here is for the Echo of Lilith fight. And, well, this build is actually pretty good single target damage if you can make all the Ball Lightnings hit the enemy. And to do that, we use Ghostwalker aspect to just be able to walk inside the boss, and then all your Ball Lightning will hit her. And then we don't really need Raiment for anything in the Lilith fight, so we just get more defense here. And we adjust skill tree a little bit again. We change Ice Armor for Ice Blade to get more vulnerable and a bit more cooldown reduction. We put on some points into Convulsions to get stuns for the stagger build-up, and also for all the like little minions respawns. So we drop also Mana Shield for Conjuration Mastery, because we now have Ice Blade, and we also have Lightning Spear when the ultimate is up. So it adds like a decent chunk of damage. And then, well, you just spam Ball Lightning and walk directly into the boss to make them all hit her. That's pretty much the gameplay. And then you can even save your Flame Shield for all the difficult attacks, because you don't have Binding Embers anymore, and you don't rely on Stagger like you don't with Blizzard build. Of course, this is like not a one-shot build. This is a build where you have to fight her fairly. But the damage is not terrible. And by the way, look at this, the amount of damage numbers. This is a single target, by the way. Only one Lilith, and this is the result. I love it so much.